Hello students! Today we are embarking on a deep exploration of the character Roger from Lord of the Flies by William Golding. In this lesson, our focus will be on understanding Roger's inherent cruelty. We will explore how Roger contrasts with Simon's innate goodness and how he symbolises the devil in the novel. From his early subtle acts of unkindness to his eventual descent into outright malevolence, we will analyse how Roger's senseless and opportunistic cruelty represents the worst potential for moral degradation among the boys. Let's begin. Near the novel's opening, Roger is subtly displayed to have cruel tendencies. In Chapter 4, the narrator describes how Roger deliberately throws stones at the littlun, Henry. Roger stooped, picked up a stone, aimed, and threw it at Henry, threw it to miss. The stone, that token of preposterous time, bounced 5 yards to Henry's right and fell in the water. Roger gathered a handful of stones and began to throw them. Yet there was a space round Henry, perhaps 6 yards in diameter, into which he dare not throw. Roger throws stones at Henry, a vulnerable littlun, which demonstrates his capacity for cruelty and bullying. Although he doesn't directly hit Henry, the act of throwing stones at him shows a clear intent to intimidate and assert power. The space round Henry signifies Roger's lingering sense of societal rules, but his frustration at the preposterous time indicates his growing desire to reject these old moral codes. This moment foreshadows Roger's later, more extreme acts of violence, revealing his underlying malicious nature. Furthermore, Golding hints at the opportunistic and sadistic nature of Roger's cruelty near the beginning of the novel. The author provides us with a glimpse into this characteristic of Roger through this quote: "Roger and Maurice came out of the forest. They were relieved from duty at the fire and had come down for a swim. Roger led the way straight through the castles, kicking them over, burying the flowers, scattering the chosen stones." Roger uses his free time for senseless destruction rather than harmless leisure. Instead of joining others in their swim, he chooses to destroy the sandcastles that the litluns built. This destructive act isn't one necessitated by any survival instinct or practical need, but purely a sadistic pleasure that Roger derives from crushing something that the weaker ones cherish. This early portrayal of Roger's casual cruelty suggests a growing pattern of violence and sets the tone for his later deplorable actions, thus hinting at his progressively malicious disposition. Towards the end of the novel, Roger, much like Jack, is portrayed as terrifyingly cruel for his own ends. The text reads, "Roger edged past the chief, only just avoiding pushing him with his shoulder. The yelling ceased, and Sam Nerrick lay looking up in quiet terror. Roger advanced upon them as one wielding a nameless authority." In this quote, Roger portrays a unique level of cruelty that cannot be attributed to Jack's influence. His overflowing eagerness to torture is seen as he barely restrains himself from shouldering past Jack, showing a distinct disregard for the supposed leader's authority. Rather than acting on a command, there is an implication that Roger assails Sam Nerrick for his personal enjoyment, only coincidentally satisfying Jack's objectives. The nameless authority Roger wields speaks volumes about his personality. It isn't about exercising power given by Jack or any set rules, but is about pursuing his sadistic pleasure, making him a truly cruel character. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson, students. We delved into the character of Roger from Lord of the Flies, focusing on his inherent cruelty and how it contrasts with Simon's innate goodness. We examined Roger's early acts of subtle unkindness, such as throwing stones at Henry, which foreshadow his later, more extreme violence. We also discussed his senseless destruction of the littlun sandcastles, highlighting his sadistic pleasure in harming others. Finally, we explored Roger's terrifying cruelty in the novel's climax, where he wields a nameless authority to inflict fear and pain for his own enjoyment. Roger's character embodies the worst potential for moral degradation among the boys, representing the devil-like presence in the novel. Remember to keep revising this lesson and see you next time.